Well, day 8 found us docked in Amsterdam and saying goodbye to the Viking Lynn. We really enjoyed the last 8 days on that ship, and we're sorry to leave it. But we had opted for a 2-day post-cruise extension in the city of Amsterdam. I'll have to admit, I had some reservations about this extension, mainly based on the fact we'd seen lots of reports on the news about tourist overload and local backlash in Amsterdam, overcrowding. But I'll say this, we saw none of that, and we absolutely loved the city. Viking put us up at the Radisson Blu Hotel. It was conveniently located within easy walking distance of Dom Square, the train station, the Royal Palace, the museums, and of course the red light district. After dropping off our luggage, the first thing we did was go on a walking tour of Old Town. Here you can see some of the old style business cards that local businesses would put up to advertise their services on the road. We also got to wind through some of the very pretty gardens and courtyards that rarely you would see unless somebody showed you the way to get to them. Now, like any good travel channel, I can go into great detail about what you're looking at. I could do that if I'd kept any notes, but I didn't, so I have no idea what we're looking at, other than it was pretty and I thought I should film it. So while you're watching that, I'm just going to go on and give you some background information that I do know about Amsterdam. First of all, it's home to roughly 850,000 people, with 880,000 bicycles. And of these 880,000 bicycles, at least 879,000 of them were mainly cheap, ugly bicycles that no one in their right mind would want to steal, but nonetheless were locked to anything that didn't move, including your leg if you sat too long. The city is both the commercial and cultural capital of the Netherlands, which makes sense, and it's located in the province of North Holland. Amsterdam has over 165 canals, 1,200 bridges, 90 islands, and over 2,500 houseboats. It's built in a series of semicircular canal rings reaching out from the center of Old Town. This design feature virtually assures that visitors are always going to be lost. At the conclusion of our walking tour of Amsterdam, we were able to return to the hotel and check into our room. After a couple hours of downtime in our room, we were ready for our second excursion of the day, which was a food tour of Amsterdam. The first stop on that tour was at a Gouda cheese shop. There we tried a variety of different aged Gouda cheeses, and I'll have to admit, I learned a lot. Our second stop on the food tour was a tavern where we got to try a Dutch liqueur called Genever, and wow, that's all I can say. It'll take your breath away. We then tried some hot bitterballs and mustard, and that was very good. The final stop on our Dutch food tour was at a pancake house where we got to try some of their famous silver dollar sized pancakes and some hot tea, and it was excellent. In addition to its canals and large number of bicycles, Amsterdam is also known for its gabled, narrow homes. At the time of their construction, these buildings were taxed on their width, not their height or depth. As a result, they tended to build very high and rather deep. And if you notice, some of the middle windows appear to be what used to be doors, and that's exactly what they were. Each of these buildings has a nice hook up on the top where they can haul up their possessions, and in some cases some of these buildings were actually warehouses. We took a tour of the red light district, although my wife passed on this one even after I pointed out the historical significance of the district. I myself did the tour, and quite frankly at 11 o'clock in the morning I didn't see what the big deal was with it. After lunch, my wife and I decided it was time to go ahead and take a canal tour. So we followed the precise directions given from the Radisson, and after wandering around aimlessly for a few minutes, we miraculously turned up at the corner of I don't know where we are street and another street, and lo and behold, there was the tour boat company. Now this day was a little overcast with drizzle, but luckily these boats were what I would call semi-covered and heated, and they were perfect for the weather. Of the 2,500 or so houseboats that inhabit Amsterdam, they range from miniature floating palaces to derelicts that you sometimes wonder how exactly they even stay afloat. However, one of the most interesting ones was the one coming up here that was referred to as the cat boat. It apparently is a homeless shelter for cats, and they seem to live a quite comfortable life there. After 45 minutes of being the largest ship on the water, we all of a sudden entered into the main harbor and found ourselves being dwarfed by the size of other ships. However, out here we were able to see a really interesting reconstruction project being done by all volunteer workers on this, I believe it was a 17th century Dutch trader. It's being reconstructed from ground up, all 100% volunteer work. Well, that pretty much wraps up our visit to Amsterdam, and I'll have to say both my wife and I absolutely loved it. Next week on Random Destinations, I'm going to be doing a review of the Viking river cruises and let you know what worked and what didn't work so well. Hope to see you then.